What if your pastor collapsed mid-sermon right before your eyes? That's exactly what happened at City of Refuge Church, when Bishop Noel Jones suddenly dropped to the floor, stunning the entire congregation. Gasps, screams, and tears filled the room. His wife, Lady Loretta, ran to his side, weeping as paramedics rushed him to the ICU. Now, the world is watching. Was this just exhaustion or something far more serious? And could this be the end of an era for one of the most powerful voices in gospel ministry? Stay with us. This story only gets deeper. From the front pew, Lady Loretta Jones, his wife, rushed forward in panic, screaming for help. Paramedics were called, members wept and prayed, and the scene turned from one of celebration to chaos. Bishop Noel Jones, now 74, was quickly rushed to Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles, unconscious but breathing. What began as a powerful sermon had turned into a spiritual emergency, and the world began asking questions. What happened? Was this just a health scare or something more profound? Behind the scenes, a deeper and more heartbreaking story began to emerge. Close sources revealed that this collapse was not a surprise to those closest to Bishop Jones. For months, subtle signs had gone unnoticed or unspoken. Congregants began whispering about shorter sermons, increased reliance on the pulpit for balance, canceled speaking engagements, and even visible signs of fatigue during live streams. There were murmurs about high blood pressure, dizziness, and at least 2 incidents in the past year where Bishop Jones reportedly lost consciousness, blaming dehydration or exhaustion. Despite all of this, Bishop Jones pushed forward. His schedule remained packed: revivals, conferences, leadership summits. He was seen as the Iron Man of gospel preaching, someone who simply did not stop. One deacon, speaking anonymously, said, "We begged him to slow down, but he kept saying he'd rest when the Lord called him home." His wife Loretta, family members, and even medical professionals pleaded with him to get evaluated. Just 2 days before the collapse, doctors at Cedars-Sinai urged him to stay overnight for observation after he complained of chest pain, but he walked out, reportedly saying, "The people need me this Sunday." That Sunday came at a devastating cost. In the hospital, doctors diagnosed a severe cardiac episode, not a full heart attack, but a hypertensive emergency that caused him to lose consciousness. He was placed under sedation to stabilize his heart rate and has remained under round-the-clock observation. A lead cardiologist told the family bluntly, "If he keeps going like this, the next collapse could be fatal." The family was devastated. Loretta Jones, in particular, broke down in tears as she was told her husband had reached his physical limit. But the collapse didn't just shake the family. It shook the entire structure of the City of Refuge Church. Behind closed doors, the church board convened an emergency meeting for the first time in decades. They were forced to ask, what if Bishop Noel Jones can't return? There was no formal succession plan, no named interim, no prepared roadmap for this moment. As rumors swirled, names like Pastor Mark Jones, his nephew, and Pastor Jamal Bryant were mentioned as possible successors or collaborators. Others even wondered if Bishop T.D. Jakes, a close friend, might assist during this period of transition. But not everyone was aligned. Factions began to emerge. Some church leaders insisted that Bishop Jones was irreplaceable, while younger members suggested that this might be the right time to introduce modern leadership. One elder defiantly stated, "This church was built under his leadership. We're not about to hand it off to someone with no roots in this house." The generational divide was growing, and the bishop's collapse only accelerated difficult conversations about the future of the church. Meanwhile, back at the hospital, something unexpected surfaced. Bishop Jones's assistant found a handwritten letter in his office labeled "For Loretta only," though its contents have not been publicly revealed. Family insiders say the letter included a heartfelt apology and hints of a possible resignation from active ministry. It was the bishop's way of facing what so many around him had already accepted. His body could no longer carry the calling in the way it once had. When Bishop Noel Jones finally regained consciousness nearly 36 hours after his onstage collapse, the atmosphere inside Cedars-Sinai Medical Center was thick with emotion. Monitors beeped softly, nurses moved with quiet precision, and at his bedside sat Lady Loretta Jones, his devoted wife, who had barely left his side since he was wheeled into the ICU. As his eyes fluttered open and slowly adjusted to the dim lighting, he turned his head toward her, his voice weak but sincere, gripping her hand gently. He whispered, "I'm sorry I didn't listen." Those 6 words broke Loretta's heart. She had spent years pleading with him to slow down, to see a doctor, to take care of the body he so relentlessly pushed in service of the gospel. In that moment, every fear, every warning, every prayer had come crashing down with those few soft-spoken words, but Loretta, ever the quiet strength behind the bishop, leaned in and replied through tears, "You're still here, that's all. That matters." Later that day, in a moment of renewed clarity, Bishop Jones requested a notepad. Though too weak to stand, his hand trembled as he began to write. No one knows exactly what he wrote, but those closest to the family believe it was a farewell message, possibly a letter to the congregation, a transition plan, or perhaps one final sermon from a man who had given everything to the church. That notepad is now locked away, reportedly under Loretta's personal protection. Guarded like sacred scripture, news of the bishop's awakening spread like wildfire. Across social media, tributes began pouring in from every corner of the gospel world and beyond. Bishop T.D. Jakes, a longtime friend, posted, "A general of faith has fallen but not for good." Marvin Sapp, Kirk Franklin, and Donnie McClurkin added their voices of support, each sharing stories of how Bishop Jones had impacted their lives. Even secular celebrities like Steve Harvey and Niecy Nash posted messages of prayer, gratitude, and love. The hashtag pray for Bishop Jones began trending within hours, with thousands of followers flooding timelines with memories, photos, and heartfelt messages. But just as the church community began to feel relief, another storm broke. A leaked voice memo surfaced online, reportedly recorded during a private staff meeting 2 weeks before the collapse. The voice in the audio, undeniably similar to Bishop Jones, can be heard saying, "I've been dizzy lately. There's something going on in my chest, but I won't stop. I've made peace with God. If I fall preaching." A staff member, clearly alarmed, pleads with him to cancel the upcoming schedule. The reply is chilling, "Let the word go forth. I don't need sympathy. I need strength." The reaction was immediate and divisive. Some hailed him as a warrior of faith, a man willing to lay his life down for his calling. But others, including former staff, were outraged. Facebook Lives and Instagram posts began to flood in, calling the memo reckless and irresponsible. One former assistant pastor went viral for saying, "You don't get to gamble with your life when you lead thousands. That pulpit is sacred, but so is accountability." The debate wasn't just about health, it was about leadership, responsibility, and the hidden costs of relentless ministry. Meanwhile, Loretta Jones remained silent in public, but behind the scenes, she was anything but passive. According to sources close to the family, she contacted both the hospital chaplain and her legal counsel to begin exploring ways to legally secure Bishop Jones's wishes. In case he was unable to return to ministry, some believe she is considering a more formal leadership role within City of Refuge, while others suggest she may publicly read parts of the private letter Bishop Jones wrote after waking up. Either way, it's clear she is stepping into a new kind of authority, not just as a wife, but as a steward of her husband's legacy. What began as a terrifying health emergency has now exposed deeper tensions within the church and sparked conversations that many have avoided for years. Was this collapse a divine warning, a call to restructure leadership, or simply the breaking point of a man who gave too much? Whatever the answer, one thing is certain: Bishop Noel Jones has changed the way we view pastoral sacrifice, and Loretta Jones is no longer standing silently in the background. She's protecting her husband, his ministry, and perhaps his final message to the world. The truth is, Bishop Noel Jones may never return to the pulpit in the way he once did. Doctors are urging 6 months of rest. Some are recommending he retire completely. Others suggest he assume an emeritus role, advising, mentoring, and preaching occasionally without the burden of full-time leadership. His longtime physician also confirmed that he may be dealing with early-stage congestive heart failure and type 2 diabetes, a combination that often proves deadly without immediate intervention. What's clear now is that this wasn't just a collapse, it was a spiritual reckoning, one that forces the church, his family, and perhaps even Bishop Jones himself to confront hard truths. Can charisma alone carry a ministry in decline? Does loyalty mean we ignore the leader's humanity? And when the shepherd stumbles, how does the flock learn to walk on its own? Whether or not Bishop Noel Jones ever steps back into the pulpit, one thing is certain: his impact is eternal. He redefined Black Pentecostal preaching, bridged the gap between faith and fame, counseled celebrities in secret, and married the love of his life, Loretta, after decades of waiting. Even if Bishop Noel Jones never returns to the pulpit, his voice will echo for generations. His legacy is alive, his impact undeniable. If this story moved you, like, share, and subscribe for more powerful faith journeys, and in the comments, drop your prayers for Bishop and City of Refuge. Thanks for watching.